Good afternoon, everyone. This is the real pastor, the true pastor, Pastor Devin Miller, and you are watching another edition of Financial Matters. Why? Because financials matter. And this month, if you have been following or checking us out, we have been honored to be speaking with the Rasheed family and the architect of the financial empire that they are building, which is Idris Rasheed Jr. And he works along with his father and I believe his mother in a financial informational organization. And we've been kind of dissecting it over the last couple of weeks. And today is going to be no exception. We're going to get a little bit deeper in this whole thing of not only just being good stewards of your finances, but how to really maintain and excel in your financial planning. And so I'm going to bring Idris Rasheed Jr. onto the stage and we're just going to have a conversation. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well for an old man. How are you?
Okay. I'm doing well myself.
Very good, very good. I see you're in that mobile office unit.
Yeah, I was trying to get to a place, but traffic kind of got the best of me.
Yeah, I understand. I do understand. That's why I love the fact that I don't have to go nowhere to be everywhere.
Mm.
I can do it all right here. So, um, just by way of, in case we have new people watching, just give a brief synopsis of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into what I think is going to be a good topic for today.
Yeah, so my name's Idris Rasheed. I live out in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and what I do is actually what we do. We actually empower families through our philosophies of multi-handed driven income, learning about principles of money, 10%, three rules, three goals of that, and self-development.
All right. And how long you been doing it?
Let's see. I've been in finance for almost 10 years coming up in August, and been with this particular business for 4 years now.
Okay. Okay. So here's what I was thinking about today as I was mentally preparing for today is I want to talk about the discipline of financial literacy and what you do, the discipline of it, and also if it is a part of the coaching of what you do, all in the area of speaking in the area of delayed gratification. Because and I believe that in our community, that's one of our biggest challenges when it comes
Hmm.
to money. And we get caught up in the hype of investments and how much you can what your return is versus the discipline of the return. That it's not going to happen next week, or it may not even happen in 3 months. It may be a period before you can draw down or see the results of your discipline. So, first thing I want to talk about is what is the in what you do, how do you insert discipline in regards to financial planning and also being motivated to do it?
Well, one thing that we really, what we teach people, what we have to get people to understand is, it starts with habit. It's just like anything else.
Hmm.
How do you like? What's the hardest part about going to the gym? It's just getting in the habit of getting up and going, right?
Right.
But also trying to get people to understand too that the longer your money goes away, the more of it comes back, and it comes back with friends.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's one thing that is really missing, especially right now, because everybody wants to invest in something, get it, pretty much become a millionaire tomorrow.
Right.
And it
Right.
happens for some people, it does, but it's not very common, right?
Okay.
And the realistically, you need to think about your money as something that you put away for X amount of time. I mean, not just a few days or a few months, for years. You put it back for years, and then you get to a point where you can access it, and you have way more of it than what you initially put away.
Okay. Okay. And so, do you find in the work that you do that, and the people that you work with, is that the biggest challenge, or is it generational? Let me say it that way. Depending on the generation of people that you talk to, does the delayed gratification and the discipline of long term, is it easier for? Oh, we done lost him. Hopefully he'll come back. He's on the road, so sometimes those towers are not where you think they are. Um, but while he's reconnecting, let me say why I'm going down this road is because as the economy gets crazy, a lot of times we want it now versus wanting it later. And I believe that true financial planning and financial literacy comes with a discipline.
Hmm.
Um, and so, welcome back. I was just doing my commentary while you were away. But again, what I was asking was, do you find it generational in the level of teaching that you have to do about discipline?
Yes, yes and no. And the reason why I say yes is because some people get access to this education. They get it at an early age from people
Right.
from previous generations. However, I say no because the majority of us we never get it.
Right.
If we're lucky enough, we stumble upon it at some point in our lives, and then
Right.
we can kind of change the trajectory from generation to generation from that point.
Yeah.
But if it was more mainstream, I would say yes. But if not, because of the fact that it's not, I'm saying no.
Okay. Okay. And so, what type of mechanism, if you do, outside of just who you are, what type of mechanism do you put in place so that the motivational part of delayed gratification kicks in and it doesn't just become goal setting, but it actually becomes a lifestyle?
Well, one of the things that we teach as well is we explain the fact that whoever you pay your bills to, they're the ones who are becoming wealthy. So
Mm,
you have your phone bill, you pay that every month, right? You have your
right.
car payment if you have one, you pay that, or at least car insurance. You
Yeah.
have your rent or your mortgage if you have one of those. Um, so you kind of have to look at yourself as paying yourself and look at it
Okay.
as a bill that you have to pay every month.
Right.
And again, once you start getting into the mindset of that and thinking about it like that, then it becomes more of a habit because of the fact that it's repetition.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay. So, if you had to scale it in the clients that you have or the clients that you go after, um, what's the sweet spot where you have? Well, two questions now. I just thought about it.
Hmm.
Where is the sweet spot where it's easy to teach, it's easy to get them in the habit, it's easy to, you know, get them in that regiment of giving to themselves? What's the sweet spot, and then what's the greatest challenge? What age group or demographic is the greatest challenge?
Well, the first part of that question I would say is that we teach them about compounding interest. We teach them about how money compounds,
Okay.
and we have various scenarios to show them because it's all presentations visual. This is why we invite people to come to Zoom because you got to see it. I can't just like tell it to you. And
Right.
once they see how money can compound over time, then it gives them an idea. Oh, well, if I put money in my account when I'm at 29 years old, and by the time I get 65, like the retirement age, but the account only gives me 1%, I'm really not going to
Mm,
have that much money built up. But
Right.
fast forward, let's say I had to kind of give me 8 to 12%, and then look at the different, visually see the difference between the two, and that
Yeah.
usually start tweaks the interest with that. Now, for the
Okay.
second part, I will say the age range that is usually the hardest to grasp with this is I would say the 20 something, the 20 to 30 something,
Really?
because they think they're taken care of at their job,
Right.
or it's something that they want to put off. Oh yeah, this is really good, it's really important, but let's talk about it later. Later.
Hmm.
You want to push it back,
Okay.
and we all know what happens when you push things back to later. Eventually, later never comes.
Right, right, right. I'm surprised at that because I would have thought that it would have been older people because they hadn't done it earlier, and now they're getting closer to retirement age and they want the quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Well, you would think that too, but the reality is that people who are older, they do want to do things, but because of the fact they waited as long as they did,
Yeah.
it's typically harder for them because now they got to put more away
Right.
to really get, the return that you want, or really, get the lifestyle you want in retirement.
Sure.
And a lot of people just aren't in a place to be able to do that, right then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the
But
younger people, if they just put a little bit away, just a little bit from your paycheck, you probably won't even miss it. And
right.
they're the ones that you would think.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's why I said I guess I thought because in the people that I work with, when I talk about finances, I talk about it from expendable income,
Hmm.
and income that you won't miss. So if you look at it from depending on how much you want to invest, if you gave up 1 cup of coffee, depending on how you drink coffee, 1 cup or how much ever you do, and put that away and get in the habit of putting that away, then you'll get into the discipline, and then you've got the longevity versus an older person who knows they don't have a lot of time and feels as if they're rushed to
Hmm.
get the money and invest the money in high risk and high yield and all of this. So while the discipline may be good, the pressure is terrible, you
Right.
know so um And Lady Virgo just popped in. Good afternoon. She says good afternoon to you as well.
Hi
Uh,
there.
so, okay. So when you get a client and you find them in, whatever area they're in, what is your approach to get them from where they are to where they want to be?
Well, and in fact, that's the end goal, because the first thing we have to do is what's called a needs assessment,
Okay.
because we don't know. We have to ask you a series of, when we first step in and walk into it, we don't, even if it's somebody that we know pretty well, like family or
Mm-hmm.
friends, we still don't know what their present situation is,
Right.
or where they really ultimately wants to go. So we ask them questions around that.
Okay.
Uh, then we use what's called, we use a series of, just questions of asking about, where you are right now, where you want to go. We look to see what their needs are. What are you missing from
Mm.
your portfolio? What should you
Okay.
have? And then we make recommendations based off of that.
Okay.
Let them decide what they want to focus on. What's the best thing for them in the long run. And then we always ask the question, who's going to care about your money more than you,
Mm.
at the end of the day.
Okay.
Because, and again, I say that because people say, well, yeah, I have such and such with my job or with work, and I go through that. Then we ask some questions about that. Well, do you know about the fees? Like, do you have a 401k? How much are you paying? How much are you contributing? Or is your company
Mm-hmm.
matching it?
Mm-hmm.
How well has it done? How much have you lost, with things that's going
Mm.
on?
Right.
Usually people don't answer that question because they don't usually keep up with that. So then we ask,
Right.
well, at the end of the day, who's going to care about your money more than you? Because
Right.
the whoever wherever is housed, that industry, it's going to keep going. Even long after you retired, or long after
Yeah.
you're no longer here anymore. They're going to
Okay.
keep thriving. But what about your family? What's going to happen to your family in the long run?
Right.
While you're still here.
Right. Okay. Now, is
So we
it? Oh, I'm sorry. Can finish. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so yeah, so like I said, we just do it needs based, see what they're missing, see what could they could probably benefit from, recommend it, then let them decide.
Okay. Okay. And so I had this question. Um, is it the is it the responsibility of the company that you work for to give you a quarterly or annually report on how your 401 is doing? Or is that you for you to ask for?
I would say for you to ask for,
Okay.
because I've worked with various companies that that had 401ks, and I think there was only one that really offered to set time to meet with like a representative to go over, do a review.
Hmm.
Again, you had to set, the times were available, but you still had to take the initiative to take advantage of the times.
Right.
And I found that most people did not. But I would say at the end of the day, you need to be the one. First of all, you need to know where is it, how, who is housing this.
Right.
What company has this? Get in touch with
Okay.
them, and then do like a report for the past, like 6 months to a year. How
Okay.
well has it done? And then just kind of take it from there moving forward. Just always check the statements or whatever to see how well is it performing.
Okay. Now with the 401k, because and I'm saying that because a lot of people that may tune in have a 401 for the most part. The majority
Mhm.
of people that are employed usually have a 401. If you're in education, you have a 403 or
Mhm.
403b. Um, but I've always wondered if you find out that whoever is housing your money is not doing well, can you suggest moving your money if it's in a 401k or 403b, or do you have to remove it in order to have more control over it?
Well, the reality is wherever it's housed, that's who the company that you work for, that's who they go with.
Okay,
So you may not have no so say so in that.
okay,
However, depending on how it's structured and how it's set up, you can always diversify within. So if you find that, oh, this company over here is not doing as well as that company, I think I
hmm,
want to allocate some more towards this company,
okay,
or towards that. But again, that goes back to you got to keep up with the statements, keep up with how it's performing, knowing what's happening, not just know, but understanding how it's happening, and then you
right,
can take matters into your own hands like that.
okay. And when it does come to and let me say it this way, this has always been my philosophy, but I always ask
Mhm.
people on my show if it makes sense. I, and the more I learn, the more I know. So I've always been under the mindset that before you consider even a job move or pulling, your 401 out for whatever reason, that you don't leave until they match. Now, in that is two questions. Do
Mhm.
all companies match contributions at a certain level of your job, or is it up to the company on whether they match or not?
Yeah, it's up to the company. I will say that most play well, it depends on the company because it depends on the size of the company. Are they in a place where
Right.
they can match?
Okay.
Usually they match up to a certain percentage. So we always tell people, if you have one set up, make sure you're contributing at least as much as they were going to match you, because again, it's
Right.
kind of like free money
Right.
on it. If you're still working at that same place, then obviously you can't really do too much because you're still an employee. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you had a job in the past, you had a separate 401k with another company, but once you leave that company, if you don't, pretty much reallocate those funds into other places, it keeps
Mm-hmm.
going as if you were still working there. Obviously, they're not
Continue.
contributing, you're not contributing to it, but the money
Right.
is still growing. But that also
Okay.
means it's still exposed to the market, so you can also lose. So
Right.
that's where we have the real conversation on, what about your old 401ks, like, from past jobs?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? Where are those funds? Let's have a conversation around that.
Right. Right. Okay. And in your analysis and your experience, is it wise to leave if you go to another company? Is it wise to leave a 401k with the previous company, or is it more advantageous to roll it over into a private IRA so that you can manage previous money.
Exactly. That's what in fact I think you just hit the nail on the head with that because of the fact that you're not gonna want to just leave it there because again, like I said, it's exposed to the market. If the market
Right.
does go down, it could take away from the overall. Some companies allow you to, when you go to that new job, you can take that old one and just move it into the new one.
Yes.
Or like you were saying, you could just go branch off, do you kind of do your own thing, which I think would be better for most people in the long run too, to just
Right.
to do that. But to understand also, okay, how does that work? How do I go about doing that?
Hmm.
Make sure you do it properly. Because last thing you want to do is get a nice little tax bill in the mail because it wasn't properly rolled over.
Right. Right. Because typically you have, what is it, 15 to 30 days to roll it over before it gets taxed if it's not put somewhere.
Yeah, I say 30 to 45 days, I believe.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And see, this is a lot of stuff that I don't think people know.
Hmm.
Because you look at the benefits and you look at the salary, of course. Then you look at the benefits next, but no one ever thinks about if I leave or because you're not thinking about that. You know what I mean? But when they talk about contributions and matching and all of that, I think it's like the Charlie Brown teacher. It's like womp 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 because we don't have the education to ask the right questions.
Hmm.
And that's why I think it's so important that we do these type of things. Whether people gravitate to it or not, but the thing is, at least the information is out there from our perspective. Because if you talk to anybody else, and I'm not down on anybody else, but they don't have our interests in mind. They're looking at how much money can you put in our stuff so we can make money because we make money off of your money.
Hmm.
But we never think about, as you were saying, putting it in some place where you can not just see it, but you can manage it.
Hmm.
And no one's basically managing your future as far as it comes to your finances. So the question behind that is so when you're talking with people, do you find more often than not that what you're saying to them is kind of like brand new information that no one's ever really sat down and discussed with them?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We ask.
Somebody must have called him. I've learned that's what that means. If you cut out but your picture is still on, that means somebody called your phone or interrupted the feed. So um, I hope that you're understanding why I'm asking these questions. I'm asking these questions from an average, everyday type of position, uh, and you'll find where I'm going with it after he answers the lack of knowledge that I think most of black and brown people have when it comes to finances. And so that's why I'm really going down this road. So, welcome back. Um, so I was asking you, the lack of knowledge that people have when
Mhm.
they come to you,
Yeah.
and how far is the learning curve, depending on where they're working, and who your client is.
Well, and also it depends on the client. Obviously, some people have more knowledge than others. Um,
Right.
so obviously those are easier to work with. But what we try to do, we try to just break it down to the simplest terms. We want to make it as we want to spoon feed it to you as much as possible. Even
Okay.
if you have a background in finance or whatever, we still kind of treat you the same. Like, we want to, because we want to make sure that you understand. The last thing we want you to do is to get you tied up into something
Hmm.
that you've agreed to get into it, and you have questions about what did I get myself into? That's kind of like one of those things. We
Right.
want to make sure that you have everything nice and laid out, and it's nice and neatly laid out. Everything's
Hmm.
explained to you properly, and then we move forward from there. So, and I would say that for the most part, what people really don't understand is the fact that when it comes to when it comes to these situations, it's not that complicated. It's really not. It all
Right.
boils down to where you are right now and where you want to go, how you want to get there. You
Hmm.
know, we always say if you want to go from Los Angeles to New York, how do you want to get there? Do you want to drive? Do you want to, fly? Horse and
Right.
buggy? Do you want to walk?
Right. Right. Right.
It'll take you a
Right.
while, but you can get there eventually. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
if
Okay.
you want to
Okay.
fly or if you want to drive, then this is the route you need to go. If you want to just,
Yeah.
take your time, then obviously, we can accommodate for that too.
Sure. And I would think that that kind of conversation leans towards risk. How much
Mm,
risk do you want to take? Do you want to be conservative? Do you want to be high risk, high yield, conservative, mid risk, mid yield, ultra conservative, low risk, low yield.
hmm.
But again, what you were saying is that it also has to go hand in hand with where you want to go. So
Yeah.
with that type of questioning, and here's the pivot. When it comes to education, when it comes to informing, of course you have your own, seminars and informational vehicles that you use to get the information out. But I want you to tell me, and I will not be offended.
Mm,
What should be the role of the church in this? Because
mm,
that is the to me that's the greatest group of people in a concentrated area. And
yeah.
I would venture to say that to be safe, half of them don't know anything about finances. They just know how to make money, and they're
Hmm.
not even thinking about the future, or they're not thinking about where their money's going to go. They probably got life insurance, and they know they're going to be buried. Again with that old mindset, but they're not
Hmm.
looking at the new concept of building generational wealth. We talk about it, but what are we doing as far as educating on it? So have you found um, that if you've looked at that avenue, that there's pushback or embracing to come into a church and do a presentation or things like that?
Me personally, I found I've been embraced by it because of what
Okay,
you're saying is that we don't get, we don't get the information.
sure.
And a lot of churches, for the most part, usually don't have someone in the financial field who are willing to come in, at least for free, and to
Mm-hmm.
present this information, or at least they'll have
Right,
access to it.
right,
So, I feel fortunate enough when I can go to a church or to a community, a group of people, to say, hey, let me just give you, let me just give you something. Let me give you some information here. Um, Obviously, I'm just coming with a giving mentality. I'm not expecting to get anything in return, especially right then. But, just again, if you're not ready to make a decision today, when the time does come, let me give you a little something that you can have in your back pocket to go off of. So at least you
sure.
know what questions to ask.
Right, right. Because I'm partnering with an organization that is looking to go into churches with financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I told them, and you hit it, is don't come in with the sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Come in with the information, and from the information, you'll probably get people because they're
Mm-hmm.
coming from a lack of knowledge. And, and the word says we perish for a lack of knowledge. So, and, we always keep it to the spiritual, but I think that's in every facet of your life. If you don't have the education or the information, then you're ignorant and you can only go based on what somebody else tells you. And they may not always have your best interest in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, okay, okay. So, if you come across someone who is looking for um, investments or looking for retirement or things like that, would you say or would you recommend that they um, come in prepared or come in with a willingness to learn?
I would say the willingness to learn will ultimately, help out in any situation, no matter where you are. If you're going to retire next year, got another 10 years or so, because the more that you're willing to learn, from it, then the more that the more you're going to get an outcome, especially in terms of the
Okay.
information. We can try to prepare as much as we can, but what if we prepare the wrong way, like improperly?
Right.
Then
Right.
are we really prepared? So I would say coming with the
Sure.
open mind, be have a willingness to learn, understand and accept, and then once you get the information, get the knowledge, then you can start preparing yourself
Hmm.
properly.
Okay. Right. Right. And my last question, I think, is there a is it more important, let me change that. Is it more important to come in with a set amount or come in with the willingness to get, or is there a set amount that you have to have in order to invest? Because I know, a lot of the big boys are talking about, oh, you can invest as small as $10 and $20 and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, if I'm 15 and I got 45 years, yeah, I can do that. But
Hmm.
is there a optimum number, let me say it that way, to have or to get to in order for the compound interest and all of that to really take effect?
Well, at the end of the day, it's going to determine on again things like your age. How old are you? You've been in the
Okay.
insurance business, so you kind of know how that part rolls.
Right.
Um, how much do you already have saved? Like, maybe you are sitting on a night, maybe I always say your great Aunt Betty passed away, left you some money. You want to be
Right.
responsible with it, something like that. That plays a role into it too. But I say, for the most part, people are just starting out. It's kind of like, okay, I made this much per month. I have this much to put aside. What can I
Okay.
do with it? Where can I put it? And then
Okay.
that's where we start. We start with that.
Okay. And do you at that point recommend, like you were saying, and I think we both were saying, finding that amount that you can stand to invest versus it becoming a burden to invest? And so if your if your investment requires um, a contribution every month or every quarter, would it be your recommendation that the discipline of that would be the $20, $30 that you set aside so that when in time, that quarter time or that monthly time comes up, you've gotten into the habit of putting that money away to invest versus, oh my God, my date is up and they pull it out of my check,
Mm,
because most do it out your check. We all know
yeah.
that. Um, but I always think, I have what's called the envelope system, whereby depending on what you're doing, you can just set aside 5, 10, $15 and then put that someplace and get in the habit of taking that, the concept of delayed gratification. I'm gonna skip this
Mm,
cup of coffee today. I'm gonna put that 10, 5, $10 in the envelope, and I'm getting in the habit of doing that, so that now when my date comes and they're about to pull it out of my check, I've actually saved it so it doesn't hurt my check. And so I'm
mm.
actually replacing the money with the delayed gratification, so that it's just a transfer that doesn't hurt. So how would you advise folks to get into that habit of investing?
Yeah, and honestly, you're hitting the nail on the head. It's kind of like, you have to be okay doing without a little
Right,
bit. No, I mean, you may have a good job, you make a good salary, and you can afford to do have that cup of coffee per day, go out to eat a couple of times a month, and still be able to put enough, aside to, enjoy later on.
right,
But, especially right now with inflation and everything that's going on, most people aren't
yeah,
in that situation. So it
right,
goes back to, you really have to ask yourself, am I willing to cancel some of those streaming services so as more money is freed up? Maybe I only have
yeah,
one or two. Am I willing to, not get the brand new car this year?
right,
Maybe I should get something that's, if I have one that's running pretty well, maybe I hold on to that one. That way my payment stays the same. You know,
right,
uh, and again, I use this analogy every year. It's like, Black Friday comes around, and people wait all year for that to come because they can get so much stuff,
Right.
for half the or less than half the price, or reduced price. And how much stuff do you need though? How much do you need to
Mm-hmm.
get versus how much can you afford to put away for later? That's what
Right.
it boils down
Right.
to.
Yeah, and what I tell people about Black Friday is that the what you don't know is that they mark up the price first, and then they
Hmm.
slash the price so it looks like you're getting a deal when actually you're just paying what they would have paid anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's the marketing side of me. It's like I don't understand how the game is played. When they say the whole purpose behind 9.99 versus $10. It's a
Hmm.
psychological thing. Oh, I'm saving a penny. Really? But when you pay it, what you gonna pay it with? A $10 bill. And what you gonna say? Keep the change. So they making a penny on you. Now let's multiply that out to millions of people. They're making more on telling you it's less than you're actually getting. So it's really knowing how the game is played, discount versus slashing prices and all of that kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Hmm.
Um, all right, well, we are coming up on time, and what I'd like to do in our last session next week is well, let me ask this question first. I know next week, which I didn't know till yesterday, next week is Memorial Weekend, carries over into Memorial Day. Are you available next week?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So what I want to do is I want to do a wrap up. I want to do, what we've covered, what we've discussed, and then how people can get in touch with you
Hmm.
if they want more information. So that's what we're going to cover next week. And I say it on the show so I don't forget next week. It's a mental thing. Idris,
Yeah.
you're not there yet. You're not there yet. You got to do mental things. When you get to my age, you got to do mental things. Um, but yeah, we're gonna do the wrap up and really kind of what do we want people to walk away with from our conversations this month? Because I think the information has been great. Because I think this is what people need in general. And as I always say, I'm always trying to figure out what is the role of the church because
Hmm.
that's where we always depended on in the past, but we've gotten away from it. Not just because the people don't need it, but sometimes because we as the church don't think it's important outside of the money that we're getting, and that's a whole prosperity conversation as in and of itself. But I'm trying to get people away from that so that we all can prosper, and as the word actually says. So let's talk about that. And also, I want to talk about the pitfalls of credit card debt and debt consolidation,
Hmm.
and get your insight on that. Because again, I think I told you a story when I got that one credit card and I thought I was like free money, until I got the bill. And I was like, what is this? And so I've had credit card debt since I was in college. But I've gotten rid of it because I don't depend on it. But in those 20s and 30s, and I know a lot of folks now is debt, credit card debt is skyrocketing. Not just because of the economy we're in now, but because we don't have that delayed gratification system. And so we
Hmm.
just say, oh, well, I got this card, I can do this, I can do this, not knowing that you got to pay it back. And so when I talk about credit cards from a financial perspective, I always tell people it's better to get a card that requires you to pay the balance at the end of the month versus a
Hmm.
card that just lets you roll over, your debt until it gets out of control. So, wanted to get your perspective on that for the folks that we talked to, and then do a an overall wrap up of what we've covered this month. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for your time and taking time away from your mobile office. We appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
All right.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye.
All right, folks, that was Idris Rasheed Jr., who has kind of what I call a family business. His father works with him, his mother works with him, um, and they got involved, first because of their son, but second because of the information. So I want you to understand that there are many people out there that are doing the same thing. If you've been watching us for more than a month, there is a central theme within the financial industry. And one of the things that I'm trying to bring out of that is delayed gratification, is that you don't have to have it now, but you can wait so that you have greater later. So I'm hoping that you're picking up on that. Lady Virgo and Aaron, God bless you. Thank you for coming through on today. So, like I said, next week we're going to talk about credit card debt, and we're going to talk about debt consolidation, and what ways you can do that better. Because again, credit card debt is not having delayed gratification. Okay. But debt consolidation is a business. And so I think that there's better ways that you can consolidate your debt without going through a debt consolidation service. And I want to get an expert's opinion on that, or yeah, expert's opinion on that, because I think that's a tactic that is being used in our community to uh, diminish our ability to control our own destiny. Now, yeah, we raised the credit card debt. That was on us. But I think there's a way in which you can be taught how to diminish your debt versus someone doing it for you and getting paid to diminish your debt. And so depending on their profit margins, they may extend how long it takes you to pay your debt off, which may sound good, but actually in the long run, you're paying more versus you taking care of it yourself. Okay, so we want to look at that and then wrap up what we've been talking about with Brother Rasheed on our next show. So you don't want to miss the next show. And we've got more people coming. My calendar keeps getting full down the road. So we've got more people coming. And so we want you to not only tune in, but tell a friend, because financials matter. And this is the show, Financial Matters. All right. I am Pastor Devin Miller. This is sponsored by Clear Faith Christian Counseling and Coaching Services, as well as Clear Faith Christian Ministries, the virtual church. So if you're looking for a church online that will really teach you, you would really want to tune in to our broadcast. We're on tonight, but we're always on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 8:30 Central Time, on YouTube as well as on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok and you can't get to your YouTube, look us up under Pastor Devin Miller, and you can follow me, and then you'll be notified when we go live on TikTok. But we would prefer you join us here on YouTube. Subscribe; it's free, and that way you are notified as well when we go live. So if you're not busy tonight, join us at 8:30 Central Time for a candid conversation with Pastor Devin Miller. And if you're on TikTok, it's a candid conversation with Pastor D. All right. So enjoy your afternoons or your evenings, depending on where you are. We appreciate you watching either on the live or watching on the rebroadcast. And we hope that the information has been informational as well as informational as well as insightful. And we definitely hope that it has been helpful. All right. So until next time, next week, unless you're joining us tonight, may God's richest and greatest blessings be yours. Peace.